My name is Ed Bouch, and I have a tragic tale to tell you. Let it be a warning. I am an Ariel addict.
Speak up, you should be bragging.
My downfall started in the 50s in Portage when I was in high school. A brother of a friend of mine had one of these square 4 things, and it had the cutest, very unusual pipes, you know, 2 into 1 on each side. Didn't sound like a motorcycle, sounded like a car. So I thought, one of these days I'm going to have one. And, well, that went from downhill from there. I didn't find one for a long time, but a friend of mine, Randy Maunder, who used to be a member of the club, somewhere came up with a 500 twin. And it was a basket case, and he didn't want it, so I bought it and restored it, put it back together. There's a couple of photographs of it on the monitor there. It's first, the one in particular is it's sitting in a bare frame with a sort of a car fender and beside it, and then a later one with a little bit more assembly on it. Anyway, I rode that for a while. I even made a 2 into 1 exhaust pipe. I had seen an article in a magazine of the International 6-Day Trials, which Ariel in 1953 entered a bunch of special bikes with 500 twins with 2 into 1 exhaust system. So I built one. Had it on there for a while. Then I put it back to standard, or to the original stock, and sold it, and it went to, last I knew, it went to Ottawa. And the reason I sold it was because another former member, Stan Townsend, who I think is in square 4s, which he wanted to get rid of. One of them was a 55 Mark II, 49 Mark I, and then a whole bunch of bits and pieces, including an engine. So I bought that and put together the 49 Mark I, and that's their aluminum engine, but they have just a single exhaust pipe rather than the 2 that the Mark II has. That was probably one of the sweetest riding bikes I've ever owned. And unfortunately, I did sell that because I was moving on to more projects. It went to Texas, actually, from what I understand. Anyway, that left me with another project, and that was the 55 Mark II. And it's, of course, the double pipes, maroon colored. In fact, it's right there now. Not that one, the previous one. Anyway. Turned out that actually was one that was previously owned by Jim, and it had a little bit of catastrophic failure, so we had the crankcases welded back up and put together, and it actually turned out to be a really nice bike. But again, I got a little tired of that one, or got itchy feet, I guess, and I sold it. In fact, I sold it to Jim. And I then proceeded to work on the rest of the parts that I had, which included a Mark II engine. So I actually built what the factory never really sold, although they built some prototypes, and that was a swing arm type. Ariel in the square 4 always had that, what they called an anti-link, sort of a semi-solid rear end. But they did build some swing arm prototypes based on the 55, 56 frame, and so I thought, gee, I'm going to see if I can do that. And in fact, there it is right there on the screen now. Oh, just gone. Anyway, it's got the top box at the back when it comes back. Anyway, I built that thing, and it had to lengthen the frame about 2 inches to get it all fitted in. The frame was actually out of a 650, I think, Jim. I got it from Jim, actually. Anyway, it was, I think it was from a 650 twin, so I lengthened the frame a little bit and finally got it together. Of course,
Actually, didn't you get that frame from Scotland because you put an ad in the Ariel Owners
Oh,
magazine?
you're
and the
right
fellow,
too. You're right
and
too,
he
yes.
said if you pay the freight, he'd mail it to Canada. And
That's
he did.
right. A gentleman from Scotland actually packaged it up and sent it to me. I paid the freight.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, of course, MPI decided that it wanted to eliminate motorcycles, and as it turned out, they were successful with that one because I sold that one, and it is now, or at least the last I knew, and there it is again. It is in Sydney on Vancouver Island. So that sort of left me without an aerial. The little blue one that just disappeared was another 52 500 twin that I cobbled up out of leftover parts, and my son has it now out in Headingley. And in fact, when the picture comes up, the little blue one, you'll see the 2-into-1 exhaust pipe, which I had made and I kept, and it is now on that little blue bike. It's actually right now in pieces because he's rebuilding and repainting and all the rest of it. Anyway, so that was a bit, and as I say, I was then stuck without an aerial of any kind. But to add to my addiction, John Thompson came up with a twin engine somewhere, and actually, well, I shouldn't say somewhere. It came from England, formerly owned by a late friend of his. And he said, "Oh, well, maybe you want it for parts." So I said, "Yeah, you know, my son's got this 500 twin, the little blue one, and you know, it'd be nice to have extra parts." But then I got it home and I ripped it apart, looked inside, and said, "You know, this thing is pretty good. The crank is standard, really nice, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do something." And in fact, I did get a frame for this one. I got a twin frame from Jim, which I had actually sold to him. And you know, the
Actually, yeah, I got
doubled
that.
the price.
I hate to interrupt on that, but he actually had it in the garbage because it was a frame that he took pieces off of to build his swing arm square 4. So I kept it nice and warm for him for several years, and then I guess I did sell it back to him. But anyway, that was just for the heat and
But you
the
doubled the
ambience.
price on it.
Storage
Yeah.
storage fee.
Anyway, so to sort of sum it up, I started working on that thing, and I wanted to make it into a cafe racer. So there's a number of pictures on there. It's sort of a purpley red, and the last picture, at first I had, and there's part of it, partly assembled. You'll notice the red tank, which is off a Yamaha 500 right there, and that's how I built the bike. And you would have seen that bike at the show and shine here about 2 years ago. But now, as of this spring, I put an aerial tank on. There it is now with the aerial tank. You see the little yellow the emblem on there. Anyway, that's my tale of woe. It's a very nice little bike. I built it, as I say, as a cafe racer style. I didn't attempt to try and make it box stock. The frame was okay, except the back section behind the shock mounts had been cut off, and that's the ones that hold the back mud guard. But otherwise, it's pretty much stock. Well, except of course the big twin leading shoe front end or the front brake, because I won't ride a bike with poor brakes. The old aerial brakes are not particularly wonderful. Anyway, that's about it. There's also a picture on there of my of a 850 Commando that I had for a very short time, and it's a very unusual bike. It's probably the only one in existence. So if it comes around, have a look at that and tell me if you can figure out what's different about it.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay.